We can call the meeting to order at 7:05. We have a quorum present with three voting members present, Phil, Frank, C, and Sam. First order of business is public participation. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak? Seeing none. We have minutes from our March 7th meeting. Looking for a motion to approve, please.
I move to approve minutes from last meeting.
Your second? That would be you, Sam. Your default. Both of you are my motions tonight.
I just got to read them here.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yep. Can you see them okay, or you want me to blow it up?
No, I got it. Happy to second those minutes.
Okay. Thank you. I'll approve. Yay. Catherine, can you hear us okay? We have Catherine from the library with us tonight. Let me stop sharing this.
I couldn't unmute. I'm sorry.
Oh, hi. There you are. How are you? Good evening.
Good. Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to put up on the screen, or are you just going to talk? Because I can make you co-host if you did.
No, I'm just going to talk, I think.
Okay, that's fine.
I did send pictures of the driveway for what it's worth. So I had two requests, the front stairs and the driveway, which is the parking lot behind the library. So the front stairs are really the most important. And it's not all of the stairs, it's the lower. I don't know if there's 3 or 4 of them there. It's that lower group. Joe probably knows better than I do. This is always the hardest meeting for me to go to because I am totally out of my element. I can go and get, I can meet with vendors, with the tradesmen, and they tell me things, and I can look at the plans and I can use common sense, but I don't really know, and I don't know the prices of things. So I rely on DPW to help out there. So there's a couple of, we got some bids on it. They're kind of all over the place, and they have gone up a little bit. So I got the bids in October. So it's probably going to be a few $1,000s more by the time we actually do it. But it's an expensive project, so it would have to go out to bid. So I don't know if sometimes the town has a bid on a particular thing and we're swept into that. Sometimes it's not. I would have to do it. So that's a factor. Also, Joe, you said something about Steve Mayo looking at funding for the front stairs.
I know that conversation's been had.
Because I haven't seen anything, but I haven't spoken with Steve about it.
If he knew anything, usually anytime that's ever happened, we usually get an email with some sort of like congratulations or something like that.
Yeah, I haven't heard of anything. So, and I haven't found anything that it fits into that I can find. So that, it's about $70,000. There is one proposal that does it in 3 parts, and I'm not clear if they can do that, like how much time they can do between those 3 sections. But the bid is in 3 sections. Did you see that one, Joe?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now in front of me.
That's the one that was Jerriere, who's I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but they've done much of our work and it's very good. And I think they've done work for the town as well.
So in previous years, we had approved some exploratory work through this committee on those stairs. Is
We
this,
never-
are these bids, or as a result of that, or what,
It's
yeah,
related to that. We never actually had to spend that money because we found the plans and our own town engineers looked at it and figured out what was there. So that section of it was okay. So now we know that it can just be, they can be reset. They have to be removed and the footings cared for in some way, depending upon what's under there, what they see under there, and then they would reset them.
mhm.
So if they do it in 3 sections, it was like $20,000 a section with then other money for other parts of it. So say it's like 25 per section.
Mhm.
That would, if they can do that over time, that could be an option, but I'm not sure that we can do that over time. I would have to ask them about it.
I would imagine with mobilization, it makes sense to have them do everything
At once.
as one project, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's three rungs or whatever, 3 would probably give you the ability to keep your stairs open in some way, right? Like,
Right. Right.
opposed to directing everyone to the side door.
Right. And the side door is the handicap door, so that's not a problem at all. So that's the main proposal. It's gonna depend on what else you have on your plate, but that's getting serious. I'm afraid somebody's gonna get hurt there. It's really, you know, uneven, and we've got an aging population and little people, and I am a little worried about that. The driveway will have to be done within the next few years. It's really rough. And there's drainage there, but it doesn't really seem like the drainage is a problem. Although it's soft underneath, but it's crumbling a little bit. And in the winter, it's very, very uneven. So it's full of ice. It's all puddles, and every time we go out there, it's moved a little bit.
Joe, have
But-
you seen the driveway? Is that a full, is that just a mill and top bit? Or are we bringing it down and rebuilding the whole driveway?
I have not seen it in quite some time. Based off of the estimate, though, if I was gonna do a driveway, I would have called the same vendor. That's their thing. We've used them on stuff, I'll call that project small. It's not small, but compared to mileage, in the grand scheme of things, for us it is. But that's their wheelhouse. So I think what they would end up doing is coming in with skid steers and stripping it, figuring out whatever they need to reinforce the sub base if you need to, and then paving. I think it's 4 inches over the top of it, which is pretty standard. If there was anything, I'll put it this way, my experience with them, if there's any drainage or anything that they saw there, they would mark it off on their estimates, usually with an asterisk, saying, not giving them an out, but identifying something that could be, additionally needed for, consideration.
And who is that you're talking about, Joe?
Reading asphalt. I think
Reading
it's-
asphalt. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, really good. You said you have do you have pictures, Catherine, or, I didn't
Yeah, I
see
had
them. If
sent-
you
I
know who
had
you sent
sent-
them to?
I had sent them in an email and I just tried to pull them up. I'm at home
Okay,
and it won't, it's in a zip file and it won't open it. So I can't show it to you, but I had sent them in an email that if you're on like Windows, you can probably open it.
Can
Joe,
you
do you
forward
have,
it to me?
do you have that? Or, yeah, if
Yeah,
forward it, we could pull them up.
I had forwarded to you. Want me to do it again?
Sure. I'll
Okay.
pull it up right now.
It came December 14th.
Oh, hang
So,
on.
forward.
While you're doing that, have you made this request in the past?
For the driveway?
Yes,
No, I have not.
this is your first request.
This is the first request, yeah. It's funny how it happened suddenly. There was a problem around the drain, like the catch basin, and that was repaired. But then there were more like I don't know what happens, like it's crumbling underneath or something. Did you get it, Joe?
Yep, I had it on the original one. For whatever reason, I got the link was grayed out. I think I got it though. Can you allow me to share, Phil?
Sure, I gotta make a co-host. One sec.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, hold that thought.
You want to send it to me? I have a zip extractor on my computer. I don't know if you guys do in town. You probably do. Show you
No, I
little
have it
big
right here.
files.
It
Yeah.
bounced to a different screen on me, so.
Okay.
Last time, I promise. All right, can we see this?
Yep.
So that's one of them. Sorry, I don't know why these are bouncing out of the frame. So this is your second picture. So that frame and cover would get reset and readjusted during this. So this is if you come off of the street, you would head down the alleyway here and hook a right
Mhm.
to where everybody's parked. I think there's one more.
So that little depression in the middle there, that's getting bigger. That's getting deeper.
Yeah, water's getting in. The quote you have from Reading, how much is that quote that you have in hand?
18,995, and Dave spoke with him a couple of days ago, and he said it'd be a couple of thousand more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's to do the entire driveway,
I believe so.
not
It's the
just
part-
not just patchwork.
Yeah, it's not just cutting and patching.
No,
If that was a patchwork number, I'd say
no, it's
don't.
excavate, add compactable gravel, and pave 2 coats of asphalt.
Does it give you a square footage or a square yardage?
Yeah, let me see. 3 inches. He's got a little map here, but I don't know.
Okay.
It's the driveway and the parking lot.
Okay.
It looks like it's, I don't know what it is. 85 by 33. And the driveway's 91. I don't know what that means.
Oh,
That's
that
probably
makes
from the
sense. That's the
sidewalk.
entire thing.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's from,
yeah,
that's,
it's the total thing, Frank.
Okay.
Is there
I
any
just want to
questions?
apologize to everybody
Oh, hey,
that
Dan.
I had a
an audio visual difficulty here, so all squared away. Catherine, the coating that they've quoted you, does it have a weather sealing on it? Do you know, or is that, does the present one have a weather sealing on it?
It's been sealed, but it's been a long time since it's been sealed.
I see.
It's been a few years.
Okay, from the looks of it, it looks as though there's some sort of a fault in the surface underneath the asphalt too, so that might be part of the problem.
Well, there's the drain there too, so I was originally concerned it was the
Oh.
drain, but they don't seem to be worried about that.
Okay,
Are there any other questions for Catherine?
No, I think the visual helped, and yeah, I can see where that depression is only going to get worse because it looks like that's where all the water would pool, right? Like that's, and then
when was the last time it was paved or attended to?
Oh, I don't even know. I haven't even found a record on that. It's possible that it was done at the construction at like 96.
Well,
And then it looks like it's been like maybe DPW came in and did those little snake-like things,
yeah,
some of that around. And we've seal coated it several times, like over the last 20 years. But not recently, not within the last 5.
I have a question about the stairs, if you don't mind
Sure.
switching your frame of mind here. I'm looking at your capital requests, and I appreciate that there's a 10-year projection concept, just the heads up of what might be coming. But I see the reconstruction of the front plaza is for 31 through 35. And I'm just wondering why that seems so far off relative to getting the bottom front of the stairs.
Yeah, so the plaza itself is relative, I would say stable. And the
Mhm.
stairs on the top, there's 2 sets of stairs. So
Right.
the stairs that are at the door, that's all stable, and that's all, and it's been pointed, and
Mhm.
it's in good condition. And the repairs that we've had to do have been small repairs that we've been able to do within our budget. But the
Right.
stairs are a whole different animal. And they're, it's pieces of granite.
granite, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just different. It's almost like they're 2 different projects.
Okay.
So we from the work we've done on the plaza, we suspect that it would have to be need some work. There's a possibility it would need some work, in the 30s.
Okay. So it's not part of like a whole more grand redesign, rework, relevel the whole thing. It's more like we like
Yeah.
it kind of how it is. We just want to make sure that it's safe at each
Right.
spot. Okay.
And the stairs are original to the construction. I mean, I know there's been repair done over time, but the original building had these stairs.
Yes, from what I can tell, yes. And
Yeah,
and
it seems-
the plans that we found were from 1922, and those stairs were there.
Wow.
You're reusing the railings. Does that quote include that railing work?
I believe it does.
I think includes, yeah, removing and resetting them, Phil.
We've been talking about these stairs for a few years now. They've been progressively getting worse, I'd say.
Yeah,
I
it's
know.
become a safety measure, as you said.
The large rail on the right seems to be a lot newer. Are you gonna replace all of that?
The where, the what?
I think we also
rail-
reuse.
Well, we'll reuse it.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, all that's in excellent condition.
Yeah.
That's probably from the late nineties, actually. I could look it up, but those are not as old as the stairs.
Mhm. Okay, anything else, folks?
I'm fine.
I'm good.
Tracy, Sam?
All set.
Yeah, I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Catherine.
Okay, thank you. I
Thank you very much.
appreciate it.
Have
Take
a nice
care.
night. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Yep. Right.
Hello, everyone. We don't have fire alarm coming tonight, folks. As a heads up, there's a fire department event tonight that he
Okay.
has to attend. Frank,
Cool.
L, what's up?
Joe, why wasn't the 10 grand used to do some exploratory excavation on those stairs like we had given them?
I couldn't get a boring machine on the plaza. I
Okay.
couldn't fit it through, after they dug up the old plans in the basement. It told us exactly what listed under there. They actually had some geotech call outs of what they filled it with.
Okay.
So it made it easy to, basically conclude that you gotta dig down till you get something stable, put a footing in, build it up with concrete block, backfill it stone as, concrete as you go, reset them, repoint them and go from there. Yeah, we were
Lunch-
fully
lunch,
intended though,
yeah.
we were gonna put a machine on there and actually drill down through it. And then the stroke of luck would have it that, that would happen and we didn't have to, so.
So they're gonna they're gonna excavate and pour new footings for all those treads?
Yeah, so there'll be a footing at the bottom of it, and then they'll build up from that, and then they'll go
Yeah.
from there. So all
the
those,
money that's been spent so far was just exploratory. And it was it us or did you have someone do that? I forget.
no, it hasn't been.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn you guys were there last year or the year before.
No, we were going to. Like I said, we were gonna actually drill through. We're gonna pull a brick or two out of the plaza and drill through it, and then maybe even remove one of the stair treads to kind of poke in behind it. But they were able to find the original building plans, and believe it or not, it had a utility section to it that was pretty good and consistent. So
Are those prices realistic?
I think so. Yeah. I think the three people, I know 2 out of the 3 that proposed on it, and they're reputable.
70,000 is in the request, and that's the number that quote that matches what that quote is, or
That matches the high quote. There's one that's a little bit lower. I don't know which vendor, if they're proving any, or excuse me, if they had a preference for any.
and the library picks that, that's not a town decision, that's the library runs their own show and projects?
We would work with them, of course.
Yeah.
It gets kind of weird because we don't, so the town or DPW doesn't technically own the building. But as Catherine said, right, that's not her wheelhouse, that's ours. So anything related to the drainage or the driveway or anything like that, we obviously would lend a hand however we need to. Like,
Mhm.
we assisted with the roof and getting that done last year. So, we would do the same for this. Depending on how tonight goes, and if it was something that stayed, or was up for discussion, in short order, I could dial that down to a number that would get the project done, but leave enough that, God forbid you need to do stainless bolts or a cleat or something to mount those railings back in, that's in consideration for it too.
Yeah,
So stupid question. You probably covered this a year or 2 ago, but who owns the building then?
The library does, the trustees.
They own it themselves. Oh, the trustees, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Joe, it seems
Um,
like there's only the real 3 spots in the driveway, the 2 drainage areas and the crack in the middle. It seems like, and the rest of the driveway looks like it was pretty intact for being there for 30 years.
Mhm.
which is a good sign. I'm thinking that you could have that patchwork, like, you do patchwork around the town, around the catch basins to cut, to saw cut those out, repack them and fix them probably for half the price. What do you
Yeah.
think? What do you think?
As a minimum, I mean, if I'll put it this way, if the group decides that maybe the timing of that isn't the most appropriate right now, I would probably offer our highway guys to go in there and reset the manholes. One of them looked a little high, so we'd actually lower it so it catches water. And then that perpendicular crack or seam that they have there that looks like it's opened up, we'd work with them and actually saw cut it, open it, expose whatever's underneath it, replace it if it needs to be replaced, and then we'd pave back over it. So
Yeah, it just seemed like the driveway itself, minus those areas, looked like it was in really good shape. We can go take a look at it in person, but from the picture, it didn't look like it was, some driveways that destroyed, cracked, falling to pieces.
Yeah, but she did say that since she took the picture, it's gotten worse.
Well, I
it's a
think she
lack
was
of
referring
drainage.
to the cracks,
Yeah.
not to the driveway
Mhm.
itself.
Yeah,
You got a storm collar that's higher, won't drain your, cracks. Well, it's just going to be exponential once water starts getting in asphalt. So I was going to ask the same thing Frank just asked, whether or not the town could cut and patch any of the bad areas for now and allow us to punt this maybe this year to
Yeah.
open up some money.
I certainly think the stairs are more important.
Yep.
So are we gonna begin trimming this list down?
We are.
oh,
We're going
yeah.
to bring it up. Before we get to that, I just want to. I see Shane McCarthy's joined the meeting. So, hi Shane.
Hi, yeah, actually,
Sh-
I'm staying on for like 20 minutes or so. I apologize. Just wanted to jump in. Thank you, Phil.
Okay, that's okay. Shane and I spoke earlier. He's interested in joining the committee. Unfortunately, missed the window of opportunity for this year's nominations, but wanted to just kind of see what we do. So I gave him the link for tonight's meeting. So okay.
Good.
I,
Welcome.
I see a couple familiar faces, so good to see everyone. Thank you.
Shane, this is the second best group you could be on, outside of the one that you're already on, of course.
There we go. That's what I like to hear.
What's your other one?
So I'm actually on two other ones, advisory board for public works, and then also for the cable advisory as well.
Oh,
Uh,
good.
But don't let me interfere with your meeting. You guys go on. Thank you.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Very
so-
nice to watch.
Thanks, Shane. Thanks for taking the time to come. It's nice. Appreciate it. Joe, do you want to pull up the list? I think I think our goal tonight is to really try to get this list down big time.
yeah, substantially.
Yeah. So I have little birds telling me that we could probably, approve something closer to what we approved last year. I know Joe's been telling us too. I'm hearing we might have a little more to play with, but let's try to get, we're not anywhere close to any of those numbers. So I'd say let's concentrate on working through, Joe, do you want to pull up where we had the version 4, I think probably that you sent last Thursday?
Yep, I'll get it in 2 seconds.
Okay.
So the one I have is 3/7/2024, correct?
Yeah,
So the
3.7,
latest and
yeah.
greatest, the one that
Yep.
we worked on, yeah, 3.7.
version 4,
Version 4, correct. Hmm.
3.7.
Yeah, okay.
I hadn't realized what all those numbers meant. I was just downloading, but
just
Okay.
really for me, so I can remember how many, like the sequence of which ones
Oh.
were received. And then I made the mistake one year. We were just editing one document and somebody asked to see what it looked like last week. And I was like, oh, you can't do that.
Mm-mm.
yeah, I learned that lesson too. Uh,
Could
on a
you
different- yeah.
increase, just a couple notches.
Oh,
That's good. Thank you. So, we can't do anything with leases. That's a set number. So the 357, 515, 71. I did look previous just because I had thought that that number was going down, and it was. I looked in fiscal year 2021, those leases were only at about $165,000. So we've definitely been increasing the leases again, but there's just a bunch of huge requests that have been coming in that I've been, I look back. So there's reasons for that, but just remember that that number comes off our bottom line for years. Joe, for any of these fleet vehicles, my I don't know if anyone has any thoughts, but my question is the DPW-2, the plow sander 09.
Yeah.
You have an $80,000 lease. Is that something you do need this year, or is that something that you think could last another season?
No. So I think we could get another year out of it. I think the only thing that, again, unknowing on what this list looks like and what it was going to turn into, the only apprehension I have is not knowing. I mean, I'm going to say next year that truck's probably going to be $400,000 the way things have been going. But if it gets down to it and it's something that we need to cut out and I have to get a year out of it, I have to get a year out of it. It is what it is.
Well, it didn't get much use this year, did it?
No, but when it does get used, it gets
Mhm.
really hard and put away wet. So
Yeah, the law of averages is that these last two winters are going to
Yeah, I
result in
understand.
getting dumped on 1 year or the next and the next couple of years. So
at some
Um,
point in time, I'm sure we will pay for whatever we've enjoyed, unless, New England is now like going to become the new Carolinas. But
mm,
if I have any luck, I have bad luck. So I don't know if that's going to be the case.
for a while. Yeah.
So,
Um,
so you have it down as tier 2.
Yep.
So the only concern you have is that you expect the price to go up.
I expect the price to go up, and then I expect this truck to take probably a year and a half at best to show up.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Similar to what the fire chief said. Like,
The fire
our-
chief said 3 years, which was astounding to me, but
his are a little bit more involved, but unfortunately, it's the bigger stuff, even the small stuff to a certain degree. Nobody has anything on the lot, so we need to get a build allotment, and then they need to build it, and however long that takes, and then it gets in line at the upfitter, and depending on what you have in front of you, we have one sitting there now. We might see this summer. I couldn't tell you.
I don't want to drift too far away from the discussion, but if you have a 3-year cycle to deliver a product, what happens to any innovations that take place during that period of time in terms of engineering or design? Is that like incorporated into the order, or?
No. So, well, it depends. The cabin chassis of the vehicle is pretty much the same. For what we're buying, some of the pain points that the chief talked about are on our end. We actually would prefer them to be more mechanical than cutting edge,
Yeah.
technology, things that can get fixed. They have parts available. Anytime you have to plug a computer into anything to get it to talk to you, generally means that you're going to be spending more money.
Yeah.
So these things, I mean, since they rolled off the assembly line and started getting put to work, haven't changed too much.
Okay.
And everything that we have, we try to have redundancy in everything so that everybody's used to everything. You might lose a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah.
All of our motors are generally the same. All of our transmissions are the same. Our rear ends are the same. The seats might look different, or they might add, a piece of trim or something in the cab to make it look a little newer. But outside of that, it's pretty much all the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yep. Sorry, Sam, go.
Yeah. So first, as far as maybe pushing the plow sander to next year, the benefit of maybe doing that is we have 118,000 rolling off of the lease to purchase schedule. So even if the sander was more, we would we would have room to turn that into a lease to purchase and keep that number at 350,000, right? Like there's a little flexibility there. And then separate from that, I had run through this list and had cut some things, and I've got it down to 2.25. And one of the things that I did, and this is just a suggestion, is everything that's 14,999, I just cut as too small. Some of it, like a $7,000 thing, maybe that should be stuff that we should be talking about. Departments need to work into a capital budget to have room to move into the operating a little bit of some of these smaller purchases as just a policy idea. And then I cut some other bigger things that we can talk about, but that's just one of the things that I did when I was trying to go through this to prepare.
Sam, did you mean literally 14,999, or is that just a number?
I was thinking
drew?
15 in my head, but
15?
I kept all of the ones that were 15,000 flat. I had started at 10 because everything under 10 is, through procurement law, it's just best business practices, right? There is no quote process. There's none of that other stuff, but that wasn't quite getting me anywhere fast. So then I took like the next tranche up to eliminate, because I just wasn't super comfortable with cutting out a lot of the big value items.
Mm-hmm.
I know that if we start nicking away at that, one exception begets another, but there are some projects here that are matters of safety that are less than $10,000, less than $14,000.
Right, like the classroom floor, I think, was one of them.
Less
It's a small
than
one
15.
that's like a
I'll
75.
point out first the Doyle School floor. Right, it's a small one and it's a safety issue. The other one is and this is an OSHA. At least OSHA was cited as a stimulus for this project, and that's the door curtains on the fire station.
Right.
Those are just. Oh wait, excuse me. Those are 17,000 now.
It's the fire door. It's a little confusing.
doors.
They have a fire ask for just a
Oh,
regular
okay.
door as well. That's 7.
All
That's
right,
different.
I'll withdraw
Yeah.
that. But the Doyle issue is
Yeah.
just one
think-
exception that I'd like to suggest.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it sounds like a good idea.
Well, why don't we do this, folks? This is a big list. Why don't we just go? I think in years past, the only way we've been able to get through this is really just going top down, and then as
Yep.
we get to an item, let's discuss it, and then
Perfect.
someone wants to move to remove it or keep it, talk about it, and then we sort of just move on. I think that's
Good.
probably it's been my experience the easiest way to get through this list.
I
Okay.
agree, but I think Sam has done us all a big favor by
100%.
at least by having some method to trimming this list down, which is it's just a
Right.
hard job to do, and it's hard to turn down some of these things. So
Yeah, well, we can deal with that as we come to them.
Yeah, as we come to
Yeah.
him, right. Sam has his lit, right? He could just, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Just to get through it is all I'm saying. That's all.
yeah, point well taken.
So the cruisers, I'm wondering, the chief had offered 20,000 reduction. I don't think he's getting an EV Blazer for base cost, in all honesty, but
No.
if he did suggest we could take 20 off his ask and make that 22.25.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, where are you pointing to?
I'm at the
cruisers,
police cruisers, Frank.
Okay, great.
police
Okay.
section.
Okay.
I would go a little further than that. And go and take one cruiser off. Take his 20,000 proportion it down by a third, and then take one of the cruisers off the list.
I was gonna say that too, Phil. I mean, we've been pretty generous with the 3 cruises for the last 10 years or so.
Yeah,
And I don't think that it's just understood. And it's just understood that he gets 3. You know, and obviously asking for an electric vehicle. I mean, it's going to be expensive anyways, but
Yeah,
going to 2 and
So that's about 160, what, 5,000 probably?
yeah, you're
It's like,
talking
what,
about
82?
yeah, $80,000. There's an
Right,
$80,000
yeah, I think it's
savings
like
right there.
83, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it, so.
We did that one year, and the previous chief ended up getting the 3rd cruiser from an amendment at town meeting, just as a reminder.
Well, let
The
them
one
let
year-
them do that. That
Yeah.
helps our
Exactly,
budget
yeah.
number.
Come and get
Right.
us.
Right, so like we approved 2, and then if someone wants to champion the 3rd at town meeting, they can do that. Yeah. So do we
Haven't we
want to,
also like asked them for mileage and that sort of thing, so we know conditions of all of them, or is it just assumed that they're ready to trade it up?
I don't think we've ever asked them, yeah.
years ago, we did it, we
did
did
years
get,
ago, yeah.
we got a listing. We didn't ask this year for the police, but we have looked at that in the past. We didn't look at it this year.
Yeah, can I suggest that using that kind of a question against them kind of is actually stepping much more on their toes, and not that we don't, not that we shouldn't step on the toes when when it's necessary, but their expertise, we got to yield to their expertise in some respects. So my suggestion is just take one of those things away. I guess that's,
So,
164?
yep,
I mean, when where are you getting 164?
take an
245
80,000,
divided by 3.
take an
By
80,
245 divided by 3
Yeah.
vehicles is about 82,000, rounding
Right.
up a little. So if we're going to approve 2 vehicles, just saying 164,000, it's an arbitrary number based on this number for 3 vehicles.
And what is the time to delivery?
I think they're over a year. They've always been over a year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, so my question, because I'm looking at his letter, and he says that the Chevy Blazer, the electric, that the sale price is going to be 60,000. So, and then let's assume that the gas cars are the same price, which they would likely be cheaper, but for the sake of argument, you take 60,000 times 3 away from the 244, you're still left with 64,000. And that gives you another 21,000 to retrofit the cars.
Mhm.
So 21,000 to retrofit each car.
Right.
And that's not including any trade-in value or anything like. So I think that his value feels high on each one. I don't really know how much it costs to do the car, but feels kind of crazy to buy a $60,000 vehicle that you need to put a third of that back into to make it a police car. Like
Well-
I'm surprised that they're not already police cars, or they're not using the same computer and just porting one from the other. Like I'm not sure where the pricing of all of that is, and maybe I should have asked more that first time.
Don't we get a special blue paint? Wakefield gets a specific.
Yeah, the chief usually does a good job of explaining all the extra costs, but it is a cost that it's incurred every year. They're not gonna pull stuff out of an old cruiser and put it into a new cruiser. They're gonna get a brand new cruiser with all new equipment and all new everything.
yeah,
I can just comment on the special paint. So my group used to be one of those special paint people, the Omaha Orange. I can't see them. You see a lot of their cruisers now. There's some black ones. There's some other
Yep.
stuff. Special paint equates to time because they only will build in that color when they have a certain amount. So like even in my stuff, you'll notice some of our things that we've bought now are all white because it's a fleet color. So I gotta imagine that if they were getting a special paint, that's out the window just because they don't want to waste, the unpredictability in time compounded with everything else for an aesthetic.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we cut this line item to 164 for tonight? And then
Yep.
after the meeting, I'll contact the chief and ask him to fine tune if we had 2 cruisers retrofitted, a more, if, you know, what the number would be and see, and then we can come back to that line item maybe at our next meeting. I can get more information from the chief. Would that work for the committee?
That sounds good. That sounds good.
Yes.
Um,
Okay. Just to backtrack just for 2 seconds because I was typing when you all were talking. So literally as the meeting started, I got the trades in for these two. So I've just equated that and dropped these numbers from last time.
Yep.
Nobody wants the trash truck, so that will have to go. We
Who's
will
gonna use it? Yeah.
we will shine the heck out of it, and that will have to go out to surplus auction.
Where is this?
It's up above. It's 11
Oh.
DPW 1140 and DPW 1315 were lowered.
These two.
Those two.
very good. Okay,
Bill, I still want to make clear that I'm in favor of the chief going with an electric vehicle and trying that. With the cut, I don't necessarily want the electric vehicle to be the one of the 3 that he's cutting. But I mean, that's again a policy choice that I suppose he should be making. If we're really just talking about you get 2 instead of 3, but
Yeah, we can't tell him which ones to buy, but
Yeah.
it would all right eventually fall in his lap to order what he thinks is best
Sure.
with the money. So
Mhm.
I think the EV would be cool. I've been looking at videos.
Yeah.
It's it makes a lot of sense. I understand why the fire department didn't want one because they're at scenes a lot longer, and I think they're scared about batteries
Mm.
running out. But
and
pretty cool
by the way,
package.
I'll drop this after we're done. We're giving him back the 20,000 that he said he could shave off. With the 164, he gets back his $20,000 reduction.
Yeah, and that 164 is just a placeholder for tonight
that's
too.
fair,
So
yeah.
it's not a
Okay.
commitment to him. But I'll get more information and send it back to
On
everyone.
this, down further, can we move on to those?
Can we move on to the next plow
Uh,
truck?
I was gonna say, oh, the plow truck, yeah, okay, let's
Yeah.
talk about it.
Everyone okay with this one? It's a
Joe.
tier 1.
Joe's got that as a tier 1, sounds right.
So I tried to get a trade number for this, and they were respectful. They didn't laugh at me, but they said no, thank you.
Okay. The rubbish packer, Joe, you explained this last time, and I must say it, I don't recall how you explained it. Is this is replacing a piece of equipment with a new one, right? Is the present rubbish packer, just out of commission?
From time to time, yes. What the issue is with that is inside the body. So it's an 11-yard container on it. We're gonna have to get in there and do some welding. The other problem that we're having is the electrical componentry related to the motor. Is something that was bought a little bit different from our standard, and from the reliability standpoint, it's going down, and every time it goes down, we need somebody else to help get it back up. So it's become a little bit of a nuisance in relating to the, vehicle maintenance budget at this point in time.
Are you saying that the motor for the Packer or the motor for the whole vehicle?
So it's all driven off the motor for the whole vehicle. So,
Okay.
it's really the electrical componentry on it is in a state where failure rate is increasing, and it goes down. When it goes down, what it means is instead of picking up trash in the parks with this trash truck, we're doing it by hand. We're loading the trash either into a loader or into barrels, and then lumping it, real old school. So this would just be to replace that. This thing goes out at minimum 4 days a week, plus whenever it gets called. And it's at every party, festival, event downtown, you name it. So.
So that is a tier
Yes,
1.
Yes, we leave it alone.
Okay, leaving it.
Yep, okay. we haven't hit the fire department yet, but
Well, this next one
that
is.
the Ford Explorer, I don't,
What did we decide to do with this one? Do we want to show it at 0 for now?
I'd put it to 0 on my list.
Yeah, I agree, to zero it out.
Okay, so then that brings us to, we're right here, if everybody could see that.
Well, it's 10 years old, the Ford Explorer. Some people have cars that last, vehicles that last in more than 10 years, even in heavy duty environments, so I would argue for maybe him coming back next year for fire prevention.
so. So you're saying take it out?
Yeah, it's, yes.
Okay. I was gonna argue for taking out the ATV. The one compelling, and taking out both would, I think, be too damaging to his budget. But my case for the taking out the ATV is that the one compelling reason to have it is for emergencies on the rail trail. Well, we're several years away from the rail trail being open and accessible. So
That's
the
true.
question is this ATV urgent now, or I know it'll be urgent at some point, but is it urgent now? Must we keep it?
If I recall correctly, he said there were other uses for it besides the rail trail.
Yes, that was the one that I took to be the most, what's the word? Public safety wise.
Well, Dan, what's your argument for keeping the fire prevention on the list?
It's kind of a hokey reason. We're hitting him, if we hit him for the 35,000, I'd be hesitant to hit him for the 48. It's a hokey reason, but
Dan, I'm gonna triple down on your thought. I'm gonna say they don't need the boat or the ATV at this time and give them the vehicle.
yeah,
That
I was
gets,
gonna go
that gets
after-
$100,000. That takes it, that takes 10% of what we
Good.
need right off the top.
good, yeah, I was,
Yeah, it's the first year of the boat being on there. And obviously it's an old boat, but if it was that urgent, it wouldn't be 43 years before we heard about it.
Yes, good point.
Well, I know he makes a compelling case for it. I kind of favor keeping the boat in.
Well,
Yeah, because it's so old and because it's not running properly, I thought.
I think that I agree with Dan on maybe removing the ATV. We could talk more about the fire prevention Explorer, but I think he made a pretty good case that the fireboat needs to be, he needs a new fireboat. And
recall that he said that you can't launch it in a couple of places, like you can't launch it at Crystal Lake. It's an 18-foot boat. It's not the old 13-footer. It's an 18-foot boat. I don't know that much about boats, but you're gonna have to have somebody that knows what he's doing.
Yeah, the new boat wouldn't be able to launch. It was Crystal Lake. The new
Crystal
boat
Lake.
wouldn't be able to launch there anyway, so it's more about the launch. So
Yeah, so
That gets into tricky territory because of so you basically have a coffer dam around the whole north end of the lake. The other problem with it is if we were to propose building a ramp into a public drinking supply, we would have probably a year and a half of conversation with DEP if they would even to let us try to advance that. So it's a super nail I mean, it's a super pain for us. I can imagine for this related to that, we probably wouldn't be able to improve that situation there.
My notes show the Explorer has about 80, he said it had 80,000 miles on it. That Ford Explorer.
On the
I
Ford
took it,
Explorer.
I took it off my list out of the 3 vehicles.
I would
A-
take it off then. I mean,
the
that's,
the ATV, I honestly had a question mark too, and I was keeping the boat just because it was so old, and we have a huge lake in our town, right? Lake
Right.
Hugh, like there was a couple reasons I thought the boat might take a priority over these 3, but I'm open to whatever the group thinks. Really, the Explorer I just took off because I was looking for money and thought that it wasn't too old with 80,000 miles, but
Okay,
Yeah,
you know,
I
but
had boat on
yeah.
and the other 2 off.
you had boat on. I would go for boat on and then take at least, if the Ford Explorer's got 80,000 miles, come on, he
And
could get
take
another
2.
year. Excuse me? He could take it. He could push that out for a year or 2. You
Yeah.
know?
I hear you on the Explorer and 80,000 definitely. That maybe it's more of a heads up that this is something that will be coming at this point, I think is the way I would take that. I got rid of the ATV because it felt like a nice to have and not a need to have. And then I had kept the boat because I fixated on 1980 and the size of Lake Q and all the stuff that happens on there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. I think, but even if it can't get on to Crystal Lake, I think the kind of activities that go on at the lake and, the number of people using that lake for recreation, 1980, that's old and it needs to be, he needs a new one. I know he made the pitch that, well, he's used a boat over at Crystal Lake for when there was a fire. Is that correct? Is that what he said?
It wouldn't work. No, this boat wouldn't fit in Crystal Lake. They have a
Couldn't get it
smaller
in.
boat. It was in the picture, like there was a boat in the boat, and there was the smaller boat that was in this whaler that they said they use at the smaller water holes,
Yeah, like
like
the
Crystal
rescue,
Lake.
the rescue boat.
Yeah, like a
Okay.
rescue boat. That is not part of this. He said that smaller boat is not part of this request. It's just to replace the whaler.
Right.
Um,
I mean, I'll go along with the consensus, but I think we should keep the boat and give him a new boat.
Mhm.
ATV.
uh,
Are we cutting ATV or UTV, whatever it's ATV?
I say take the ATV out. I think that it'll come back. There'll be a time when that he seriously needs it, but I don't see that, and they have one now. I don't see that they need to have,
If the path truly isn't open, that was one of his biggest arguments, was to get it
Yeah.
for the path. And if it's not open, it's,
exactly. So take that out. I'd say take that out.
Mhm.
And what was the consensus on the Explorer? Leave it?
I think take the Explorer out too.
out.
Take it out. I mean,
We're leaving the boat in.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would argue for that.
Would it be uncalled for to ask him to look at something a little cheaper than the $75,000 18-footer? He's dealt with he's talking about increasing the size of this thing by 30%. I mean, does he need a bigger boat? You're gonna need a bigger boat.
You need a bigger
I was
boat.
gonna say, is there a shirt?
We can certainly ask. I think 75,000, if I remember right, was a estimate. I don't think they even had. I don't think they had a
Okay.
hard quote
Uh-huh.
for it. I'd be surprised. Even a smaller boat probably would cost. I would guess it would probably cost about that much, anyways. But I don't
Leave
know.
it in.
We would. Yep.
Yeah, leave it in for now.
I think if they wanted a smaller boat, we would have to trust that the fire department would have just asked for a smaller boat. They don't have a lot of
Yeah.
room to store the stuff, by the way. If you've ever been in
Yeah,
the
that was part
station
of
or
it too.
the
Yeah.
apparatus bay, like there's not a lot of space to store just the pump trucks. Forget all these,
Oh,
So
God.
I'm gonna guess that they are asking for an appropriate size vote for what they
He
need it
said
for.
he
but-
needed spots for actual people to be on the boat as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you just
yeah.
have a driver and one, you
Right.
know, yeah, so, yeah.
Well, I hope they measured it.
Okay, mowers.
Alright.
We were gonna cut down one of these last, did we talk about maybe
Yeah, one
not
of
doing
those.
both motors, but, or am I? And can you remind me that 2 in parentheses is not quantity 2, is that correct? On the
No,
72 inch?
It's mower 1, mower 2.
Mower
I
1,
should
mower
have fixed
2.
that.
Can we
I-
keep, can you keep them until the end? And if we're down to 40,000 over our limit? Those things get a lot of wear and tear for Dennis.
A lot of wear and tear. My question was gonna be, is a 62 inch mower more, can you utilize it in more places than the 72? Like if we had to pick one, or is the 72 more useful because it's larger? Like, so if there had to be a conversation about picking one, if, you know, is there a preference for one?
So to save Joe's breath, I'm probably can answer a little bit for him. There are areas where he would love a wider mower for every park in town. But unfortunately, there are areas where it's tight and you got to squeeze through. You know, like at Narcella between the 2 outfield fences for the baseball. You got Moulton and Sullivan getting through between the fence and the stands where you can't get the larger mower around all those things, and downtown in the commons too. I mean, you could certainly ask Dennis if he was only going to get one, which one would he want? But
Yeah.
that's why, you know,
I would go with the smaller one.
Yeah, well, Frank Leon, do they use these mowers simultaneously? Or is it usually the case that one of them is parked and the other's being used?
answering for Dennis, not knowing 100%, I would say that the size of the mower depends on where they're cutting. And they would have more than one crew cutting.
Uh-huh.
I think if we're gonna ask these questions and pick one, I think we should ask Dennis.
Okay.
I
Dennis.
can
Alright,
Joe.
get that. I'll get that answer from
Yeah.
him. I know the other difference in them, the larger ones, the cost difference reflected in that is they tend to be all-wheel drive, which is significant when you're rolling over different terrain. Not so much for these requests, but I know like the mowers that do the high school and stuff like that. When you start mowing on those hills, having single rear axle drive, if you start spinning, obviously it's not going to be too great for the grass. So that's another consideration there. But I'll ask them.
Ask if there would be a preference, if we had to make a choice, if there would be a preference for one or the other here.
I'll see if I can get an answer from him right now. Maybe
Okay.
we'll come back to this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's come back to it.
Hey, babe, can I have some more milk? You want- Thanks.
Okay,
So we're,
anybody got anything before the Dahlberg School? gym floor?
Windows, yeah, the 9/11 Albion, I had that as a possible delete, but I didn't really not too familiar with that building, in all honesty. That's not
Honestly, so if I'll interject for a second, make it easy. This is just kind of breaking the ice on starting to repurpose the second floor to that and get that, cleaned up. There is some discussion above my level that's happening, with a bunch of different buildings, and ARPA is certainly a consideration that has to be made. There's still some money that needs to get appropriated to that. So I would imagine if they want to do any building renovations, that they have to take a hard look at 9/11 Albion and getting that up to the state that they want it to be in. Same thing with the senior center. So in reality, if we were to lose this, we wouldn't think any different from our end. It's not like if the windows were at a state where they needed to be boarded up, I certainly would have made that transparent, but this is just kind of the first step in, taking very small bites at the apple to redo that. There is no formal plan, so if it has to wait, I don't think there's any harm in zeroing that out at this time.
So
If-
there's no damage to the inside of the building if you don't replace these right now.
No, it's just a consideration. So when we do update that second floor and do some of the work to that.
Yeah.
You know, the window
we do.
replacement will work in from that, so the windows will be new. We'll have to trim it all out, redo the walls and everything, but this is just kind of breaking the glass on it and getting a
Good.
first crack at it. But again, knowing that we're up against it, I have no reservations in doing that. So,
Okay.
Question
Is-
about
is-
the Arts Center there, Albion, 911 Albion, is there a plan to put an elevator for mobility on that second floor or some kind of?
yep. So right now we're going through and we're gonna try to prepare to propose or apply for grant funding to do that. It'll
Okay.
probably end up going where the spiral staircase is. So two things need to happen. The back of the building, the ADA accessibility into the first floor needs to happen, and then
Yeah.
simultaneously, elevator, man lift, something to that effect will go in at the same time. So our engineer here, the town engineer, is actually the ADA coordinator in town.
Mhm.
He's kind of championed that and taking it on to see if he can get some money to get that done for nothing.
Okay,
So that should be happening in the very near future. Or at least the application to try to get the funding. I should say that.
okay.
Are members of the committee okay with removing that line item?
Yep.
Yes,
Yes.
So be it. Solar panel, oh, that's already out. Insulation and door sweeps.
So this one came up, this was mentioned in the Green Communities application. We will be ready to apply for our second grant for their August application period. Given the price of this though, if the committee wants to remove this, I feel like we could probably find another means, if not included in what we're applying for come the end of the summer.
Does it damage our chances for a grant if we take it out?
No, nope. It was just identified in the plan when they
Okay.
did the energy audits of the buildings.
Okay,
You know, this might be something where we would tie it into some other places and try to pick up, you know, an economy of scale and get better pricing. Maybe
Good.
wrap it into something larger. So, you know, for now, I think it's appropriate if we defer.
zero it.
Done.
Okay,
Fine with that.
refinishing the first floor.
Yeah, I don't think this is a capital expense. I zeroed this out because I don't believe it's a capital expense.
Okay,
Sam, how did you, you kept this in your sheet? Why did you keep it in your sheet? Solely because it was more than 15,000?
I mean, yeah, so I was keeping it up there. I mean, we've already cut out a lot of things that I had kept. So I had kept that. It just felt like I'm not entirely sure why that's not capital. If it's you're gonna if they're refinishing the floor every year, then that's operating. But if it's gonna have 5-year life expectancy, then that's capital. And you know, finding 7 to 8,000 in your budget is a lot easier than finding 26.
Yeah.
So that was the other thought I had.
So just keep in mind too, this is also, this 26 is made up of two components. So we have a price for 12,000 to essentially refinish the main floor, right? The community room plus the gymnasium. And then $14,000 of that is changing the floor in the basement where the Boys and Girls Club and the food pantry is, and epoxy coating that. So it's not painted concrete.
Like I would see coating as a capital rather than painting. That's the way my CPAs have always explained when I do like painting or decorating projects at buildings. A coating is defined differently than like painting. Refinishing wood is maintenance rather than replacement. It's not you're maintaining an existing item. So that's where I'm just coming from what I've been told,
So-
from other people, but it might be a question that, usually, so next Tuesday, we're gonna have someone from the finance, representatives from the finance committee, they come to our meeting. And that's always been a meeting too, where we've ever have questions about if we don't know, or we feel like we're on the, fence about something, we could ask them. It's 100% work that needs to get done, and I fear if we don't approve it, it doesn't get done. And then the asset falls apart, right? And then it's the deferred maintenance, and so torn about it, but like that and the next
Well,
line
how about,
item, like
is
I
it-
feel are the same boat, Sorry, Dan.
Yeah, just two things. The epoxy, does that constitute a coating? The epoxy basement floor?
I
Yes.
would think that the epoxy is a coating because
So
it's a
it's coating.
system. Yeah.
It's pretty similar to like a bed liner in a vehicle.
Okay,
It's the best way I guess I can
so
describe
if
it.
we put that in as a $14,000 item instead of a $26,000 item, that would meet that limit, right?
Yes, so if you were to separate it out like that, that's why I have it
Yeah.
noted in the notes here. when we-
Yeah, I think that's the way to go.
Well, let me throw in it. Yeah, Dan, that's definitely gonna be like a concrete floor and the epoxy is very, very good. And they expect it to last 10 years.
Okay,
That is the most heavily trafficked building in the town.
really?
It's not like a department, the rec department has it. It's not like a department can add funds to their budget to do the floors. They need the floors done upstairs. And honestly, for the price, I thought it was kind of a low price, the 13 or 12,000 to do the whole gym and the two front rooms. I think I'm getting my numbers right. It needs to be done, and it by the book definition, it's not a capital expense to refinish those wood floors, but it's always been done by the capital committee and it needs to get done. We've put a lot of money into that building with the roof. The town has, not our committee, with the roofs, the doors, the stairs, a lot of things that we've done to that building. We need to keep it looking like one of the nicest buildings in town. And it is, if you don't think it's one of the most heavily trafficked buildings in town, go there at 10 o'clock in the morning, any day of the week.
Yeah,
And see how many
It's an
people are in
income
and out.
producing building, isn't it?
that's right. Yeah, it's a revenue maker.
Mm.
And
Okay,
it's a question where the revenue goes. It goes into the general fund. That's what I mean. It doesn't go to the recreation department so that they can refinish their floors. I think that's basically what I'm trying to
Right.
say.
Well, it paid for the roof, right? The revenue?
No,
An earmark from the state paid for that.
Oh.
I can't speak for where all the revenue goes. I know there's a small transfer that gets sent to the DPW budget, which essentially pays the salary of the second shift custodian that's there every night. And then the two part-time employees we have on the weekend there. Outside of that, I'm not 100% sure what happens.
okay, I'll withdraw my suggestion then.
Yeah, we did, we approved a Woodville refinish, repaint floor a couple years ago. So I'm fine with what the committee wants to do. Again, I have reservations on whether refinishing should even be on our list. But like,
Well-
if we have paid for refinishing of gym floors in the past, as a data point. Joe, you got a spelling error in epoxy, by the way. Sorry.
I knew you would get me one time.
I'll wait to the end to send you all my edits. I've been that's one I've been it's one I'm just staring at it, so I'm telling you about it. Yeah. So I don't know. What do people think? You want to keep the 26 for now?
Oh my God, I do.
Yes,
Okay.
You want me to highlight it as a potential discussion point later?
Yep.
Kind of like the mowers.
good.
Sure. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
All right.
Uh, if I may suggest, the next two there are 3 tier 2 school department requests, and I suggest that the first 2 of those get eliminated. The third one, and again, this goes against Sam's good idea about reducing, taking out the low cost ones, but that third one is a safety issue, but if you look at the gym floor refinishing for the Doll Bear and the playground resurfacing, they're both tier 2, which suggests that there's nobody absolutely dying to have these done. And they constitute a substantial amount of money.
Can I make one comment to piggyback that too?
Sure.
I try not to really influence anything that you guys are discussing. We have talked about this on my end inside, as far as what this means for Public Works. And there is some concern that if we were to touch this playground right now, it would create an additional accessibility concern. And then it would force us potentially into cutting the field up and paving a pathway into it that doesn't exist right now,
Okay.
because we don't think the grades are going to work. So I think if we're going to hold off on that, it probably makes sense at this
Yeah.
time.
I say hold off on it.
Just, under the
Also,
under the notion that
That's
this
good
could
info.
trigger,
Yep.
this could
Yeah.
trigger another ADA project that we're not totally
Yeah.
for right now, and I don't know how.
and and the ADA, this is an ADA approved surface already. Again, I don't know how you get a wheelchair across something like this, but they got other ideas. So I would say those two things, the gym floor, the 30,000, and the rubber surface, the 125. Go.
What do others think of that those suggestions?
I think that's a sound set of suggestions.
Agreed.
Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I had cut the rubber surfacing in my own work through, but if we're not even 100% sure that that plan is fully baked at that price, I'd rather know, yep, it's going to go in. We know exactly how it's going to all work. Like that's so if there's a doubt, then I think it's worth cutting.
Well, if
Um,
further work has to be done by putting that in, then it should just be cut for now.
It's
Right.
kind of the similar logic to like the ACE building, right? So,
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the problem with the ACE building is we could get you into the building, but then we can't get you to the second floor. This project's kind of the same in a sense, although it might be kind of abstract, but we can refinish the playground surfacing and tell you that it's ADA compliant, but then how do we get you from the parking lot down to that right now? Because the cross slope on that field is pretty aggressive. So we would have to build, a pathway that we believe we'll have to wind through that to meet the slopes and cross slopes. And, we'll end up carving that up a little bit. So it makes sense, I guess, from my standpoint, if it's not an absolute pressing need, to maybe dovetail that into a little bit more robust of a project to accomplish everything, all the considerations at the same time.
Okay, so if we move on to Doyle replacing the VCT floor, why is that a T2 if it's so urgent and a safety issue?
I don't know that. I don't know, but once he says it's all cracked and peeling, it strikes me as a tripping hazard. The
Yeah.
kids that come and go from there,
Yeah, Doyle's small, it's pre-K, so it's a lot of small kids running. I heard the safety thing, even though it's tier 2, I triggered on the safety trip and fall. So I even though it's a really small amount,
Yeah.
I had kept it just because I heard safety more than anything.
Yeah, I would argue for keeping that in.
But it's so small, like to Sam's point, these are things that, in reality, the budget should be somehow being able to afford these small projects on their own as well. So
sure.
Well, again, this falls into the argument, is it a maintenance thing or is it a replacement thing? I mean,
they're replacing the floor, so it's
so-
definitely capital, but it's just a small capital. So
okay. The Doyle side entrance, can anyone refresh me as to,
Yeah, it's all rotted. It's
Yeah.
I've seen this. I know this door. It's one of the main leads into one of the main hallways into the school. Gets a lot of use. Main drop off in the
Lets the
morning.
weather in.
Yeah,
yeah,
from what I understand from the presentation, it sounded like this is definitely up for replacement.
so can we have consensus on keeping it?
I say keep it.
Yeah, the door, yeah.
Mhm.
What was the decision on the VCT floor?
Keep
Keep
it.
it, keep it.
But keep
Okay.
it.
Okay,
DPW gets nothing. Let's see, 000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, it certainly makes our job a
Yeah,
lot
that's
easier.
easy. Yeah, we don't want to, we don't want Joe to sway us, so we'll just say no. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding, Joe.
I know.
Your garage doors are bigger issues, right? Because we know the structure. Are the pillars still cracked? Like, is the garage doors are going to work with what you got going on in that building structurally?
So the
I'm not-
garage
yeah.
doors sit over the footing, so those are fine.
Okay.
So essentially everything on the outside under the footings is fine. Some of the problems I think that you're hinting towards, like we've had with the floor,
The floor.
is
Yeah.
the slab isn't structural, so it sits inside. So that's some of the settling that we had there, but these are all on top of the footings, so they're sitting
Oh,
on.
okay. I thought you had some cracking on those big pillars on either side of those openings, but maybe,
We did, it's just, you know,
yeah,
60-year-old CMU block that,
right.
you know, that's all been, you know, cut out and reported and fixed at this point, so.
Is the moding to replace an existing or to add a heater to the shop, to that
No,
facility?
It's to replace one that's just hanging there dead.
Where in the
Um,
mechanics in the shop or in the main in the garage or whatever the bigger structure?
This one would be in the garage. So where the mechanics are, we have smaller heaters and they heat most of that building, at least in their space, from waste oil. So this one would be in the parks side of our larger vehicle maintenance garage.
What do people think for these 3 DPW requests?
I kept them, but why don't we just get a check of what our bottom number is right now?
It's like the Wheel of Fortune. The Price is Right. There we go.
Mhm.
2.6.
2.6. Okay, there we go.
2.6 from an ask of 9.
Did anyone have removing the let's ask the opposite. Did anyone have a note to remove any of these DPW line items, or are we all showing to keep them?
I would keep them.
I had him kept.
I had them kept as well.
Okay, that takes, elevator badge access. So this is tier 3.
Yeah.
I took it out.
What was your, what was
Well,
your rationale?
It was tier 3 and um it I question if it's even if it's needed it can't be safety if it's T3.
Right.
So
Yeah, it sounds like people can use the elevator and right now, and this would restrict access if it was, they could restrict it to just people that need to use the elevator, but
that could be a problem either way.
yeah, I don't know. I saw T3 and zeroed it out
Yeah.
All right, I could go with that.
because I know we were looking for money. So Dan, we were just talking about the DPW and we had said that to keep those requests and we're talking about the elevator badge access. Did you have any thoughts on? That we're
The
discussing
DPW,
maybe.
DPW, I agree with keeping. and the elevator badge. Excuse me, yeah, that's, I agree with that. Leaving it at 0. See around the loading dock,
Yeah, I don't know, like back in the day when I worked at in a factory with a loading dock and I smoked cigarettes, all I would do is sit in the back loading dock and smoke butts and wish there was a heater above me. So all I could think of is this heater's there for people out back smoking. And I know that's not the case because they actually mentioned within this door, there are some sprinkler pipes within that when that door is open, because it's a loading dock, cold air is getting in and it's affecting this back room of the loading area. So but per Sam's comments, the amount of money, so I kept it in, but I highlighted it, is that I sort of deleted it and then put it back in. And so I'm on the fence. I can be convinced probably either way on this $8,000 one. Because they did say there were sprinkler pipes in that inner room. I remember Tim saying that.
So what is the risk that they freeze up and they
They
don't
can-
work?
They
They can
can.
freeze.
Now, we've had some cold winters, since the school's going on, what, 10 years now?
Mhm.
We've had some crazy cold stretches, and I don't know, Joe, if you were around, and if you would remember if we've had any freeze ups at the Galvin since it was built.
Nothing that rings a bell, but
Yeah.
that also could have just, if it was the case, Tim's group may have just handled that because they're right there.
Maybe.
But also, I mean, it's not open all the time. How often do they use the loading dock? I know daily, but for how long? So it's not like it's open all day. It's exposed to the cold all day or all night, right?
Mhm.
Is
That I don't know, because I'm not, luckily that's one less building that I have to work out of daily, so.
well, is it heated at all? Door open or closed? Is it heated at all? If it's like my garage, it's an enclosed building, but there's no heater in it. It goes down to whatever the ambient outside door temperature is.
So, I thought he said that there were heaters that couldn't keep up, but I'm guessing there. I don't know. I want to say he said something like that, Dan, but I'm not 100%. If you remember, Tim had presented a spreadsheet we looked at, and it was broken down by tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 requests.
Yeah,
This was not on
this
that
does
sheet at
not
all.
have, yeah. I think unless we know better, this could be dangerous.
If it was
It-
dangerous, it would be a tier 1 or two, or even tier
Well-
2, I think.
Well,
It hasn't
we're-
even been
we're-
classified as 1, 2, or 3, right?
right, we're hoping that he's thought of that. Well, my suggestion is that we leave it in and find out whether or not that loading dock has heat anytime. Because if there's sprinkler pipes going through there, they may have, who knows, they may have frozen and thawed, 25 times since the building was built.
Mhm.
All right, I say leave it in there pending more information.
Joe, you want me to ask Tim that question?
I'm trying to find out right now. We'll put this on the list to catch up on. I'm trying to see if
Okay.
I get the answer while we're
Yeah.
talking about it.
Okay.
There's an equity issue here is that, I don't know, some of these departments are at risk of walking away from a capital budget with empty-handed. And I know it's hard to, try to distribute the funding in an equitable way because of the nature of requests. Some departments may have more requests than others, but I wouldn't want the Galvin to go away empty-handed here. Those are the only 2 requests from the Galvin.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, why don't we keep it highlighted to come back to it then, and they get through the rest of the list, and then if we feel that,
Good.
we can afford it, or there's a merit for it, and it's only 8,000, right? Like, we can
Yeah,
maybe keep it in or something, but I think you have it highlighted,
it's all part of
yeah.
the school system.
I have a procedural question. I mean, to make an item a warrant, is there a threshold? Or theoretically, can you put any, like, could you send this as a warrant, or is this just too small? To
Well,
take your town meeting's time?
There's,
Uh,
there's a cost involved in, getting funds through a warrant, because I think you go to a funding source, right? You go to a bond issue or something? Is that,
yeah, so this, given the price, probably not appropriate for the warrant article. One of the ones, my group just happened to be in front of the town council last night, and we brought up the fuel islands. So to get what we need to get an accurate price, and start the process of that, we needed $150,000. So that was, at least voted on to approve to send it to the warrant by the town council. It'll go to FinCom on Thursday. $8,000. I mean, there's nothing that says you can't probably present it, although as it goes up the chain, you'll probably get kicked back and say, can you figure out, for $8,000, can you figure out how to make this work?
Right,
It means that you
Right.
have.
So as a practical matter, these amounts don't ever wind up there.
No, and I think that's why they're combined in this process. It kind of is one aggregate request,
Right.
You're not nickel and diming it, but they're generally smaller than some of the big, more robust discussions that you would have with other warrant articles.
Okay.
Yeah, why don't we keep on moving along?
All right, we're at the Greenwood.
Rotted trim,
I kept this just because it's the oldest building we have in the school system, so,
yeah, well,
we should probably try to maintain it for as long as we have it.
I suspect that after the high school, this one's gonna come up as a new building request, but I would say, keep the rotted trim and the VCR floors and get rid of the painting. Oh, you
Yep.
did last week, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
so leave the rotted trim in.
I don't know, how
think-
rotted is it? I mean,
I think we should keep the rotted trimming.
okay,
Yeah, I think so too.
I guess too, one of the considerations with this is if we don't pull it off and replace it now, we're afraid that it might penetrate something that's gonna end up costing us more in the
Yeah.
long run.
Good enough.
It's only gonna get worse.
so I'm sorry to ask this question, but
Yeah.
the trim is around the roof area?
It's anything on the main street side of the building. So there's some ancillary trim around the columns.
Okay,
There's some work up by the soffits. It's anything and everything on that front side that needs to get pulled out and replaced.
okay. I'd say keep it. Um,
And we're keeping the floors too.
um,
If,
Is this
Is
a
what-
trip? Is this a safety thing or not?
Is it the thick the VCT floors?
Fits inside that
The big,
15,000.
Vinyl?
I-
Or tile?
it's
Asbestos.
VC, it's a bait, so it's asbestos. They have friable floors there. We've done a
They're the
round
thick
or
ones?
two.
Like the big thick tile ones? Is my,
Usually
the
9
black
by
and white.
9 square.
The black and white checkered. Yeah.
oh, okay, so they're not that thick, okay. But still,
We have done some abatement in the past at the school. but we have not abated, obviously, the whole school, so. I'm on the fence about this one because of the amount of money, and it's a tier 2, but at the same time, like, it's asbestos and it's an elementary school. So I don't know if we should just continue to try to take care of it while we can, if we
Oh.
can, but I'm okay removing it too if people
We-
think we should remove it. So
We know it is asbestos?
it says abate, so it's got that,
Probably.
yeah.
Oh, then it's gotta go, right? It's a
Only has to
school.
go if it's
If it's
Right.
peeling
Bad
up,
shape,
then yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because when it starts to come up is when it starts to be in the air, basically.
Dangerous, yeah, okay. Uh,
I
would say
assume
leave
that, but from that $10,000, that one of the biggest costs is the abatement, is the demolition. Hazardous.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
right,
I
yeah.
think what Tim said, in my experience, these places basically charge a day rate to come in, set up their protections, they remove however much and then they take everything down and clean it. And
Mhm.
I'm guessing that's what this is like a day rate to do whatever they want to do.
Right.
I'm fine either way, from my point of view, whatever you all think.
Uh, I would say leave it in.
I'd say leave it in as well.
I'm good with leaving this one in just because of the asbestos abatement.
Yeah,
We just don't want to have an emergency one, right? Where all of a sudden
yeah,
the floor
exactly.
chips away and then they have to close the main office or if it's coming up that it probably should get repaired, we should just take care of it.
Yeah. Right, if
I
it's
mean,
not up,
it is a tier 2, but it's not gonna get any better. It's
Yeah.
probably, what is it, taped now? I mean, how is it? Is it
oh,
all,
is that right?
I don't know. That's my question. Is it coming up? It must be
It's, keep it
cracked
in.
and, yeah, so. Yeah, I would say take care of it.
Well, like you say, it doesn't heal up. So it's only gonna get worse.
Right.
All right. Bunk room floors.
Anyone think that these things should be removed?
Which now?
We're on
Oh.
bunk room floors, and then we
Okay.
have a
What,
fire doors, apparatus bay. This second one is not the safety edge. This is an
Right,
actual
right.
door. Yeah.
So the bathroom upgrade and the stairwell paint, Joe, you remove those because you guys would take care of those too?
Yeah, we'll figure out a way to get both of those done. The stairwell paint was just something that came up in the punch list at the end of the public safety renovation. We'll end up just doing that when we can find some time to.
could you remind me what the bunk room floors is? Are the bunk room floors just a paint job?
No, that's I believe it's carpet squares right now. They're
So
original.
gonna replace
Yeah, that's
carpet?
Yeah, either that or it'll end up being VCT. Those are original to the first rehab of the building 20 years ago or whatever it is.
Oh, boy.
So those are probably the most heavily traveled in that building, outside of maybe some of the office space. But there's
How
no
many square feet is it? Do we know?
I don't.
No, it's a number of rooms. I looked at these after the police project because we were going to see if we could afford this with any funds left over, and so we did a tour, and it's several rooms that make up but where all the different bunks are up in the
Right.
fire station,
Mhm.
and they're very worn. You could just the foot traffic, with the equipment being thrown on them. We, we wish we could have done them. We just didn't have the money left, so it didn't happen. So I'm not surprised to see it on our list, because they were asking last summer for them. I think we should do it, but again, not like sold on it, but I think it'd be nice to do it, if we can.
Where do you think they got the 15 grand though? That's why I asked about the square footage.
Oh, our buildings folks they've had
Oh,
somebody
okay.
walk through it and price it for us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think, right, back last summer, they had someone coming through to try to give, was that Chris or not Chris? It was someone from the town was
Yeah,
walking with us.
We
Yeah,
have a couple carpet vendors that we work with, so you know they've been through it and seen all that. That's how we would have generated anything that comes through here. We generally walk somebody through and get numbers on it before we even dare to present it.
Fire doors, apparatus bay.
they talk about this door. I don't remember them.
I
I know
don't
we
I
know.
talked, I
remember
know,
the interlock thing. I don't remember this
They
one.
Right.
didn't. This
Oh.
actually came from our buildings group.
Oh, okay, so,
Essentially, it's from the apparatus bay into some of the offices. When you get out of that space, that's the garage. Now you're into more of a human occupied element. One of the doors, and they want to replace with a properly fire rated door. So essentially, be cutting it out and putting a new door in that's thick enough and has the fire rating to be that barrier between the garage and the habitable space.
Basically bring it up to code, you mean?
Essentially, yep.
$7,000 is a lot of money.
Yeah, so when we noticed this because the fire department got a grant to replace their air compressor. So actually ongoing now, it should have just finished. We actually had to cut one of the doors and widen it so they could fit it in. When they built the building, they put the compressor in and built the door behind it, and they couldn't get the new one in. So we're doing some work there. And you're doing work on one, you tend to look at them all, and somebody said, "Hey, this isn't exactly what it's supposed to be," and here we are.
Hmm.
I don't know what to think here.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it needs to be done because you took apart the door to get the other thing in, and then you put it back together.
No, that was something different. It was the same. We were doing other door work in there, and then you start looking at one, you tend to look at everything, and this came up.
Hmm.
The other consideration too is
Uh,
if we were to move it, we could see how the end of the year goes. And maybe end up just absorbing it, excuse me, through our general operating stuff.
okay. That's an idea.
Just
This
trying
is
to
a,
be consistent with the pricing considerations that we've done working through 2/3 of this list so far.
yeah, so remove it.
yep.
Yep.
Say this
Safety,
next-
yeah.
I'd say this next one we
Yeah,
have to
keep the
do,
garage
right?
doors. Yeah, they have to be done. Yeah.
I would argue to keep this.
To keep what?
Safety
The
curtains.
safety curtains.
Oh, yeah, that's what the deputy commissioner was talking about, right?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah, I agree.
mhm.
And that also had an OSHA
Yep.
Yeah.
issue. Yes,
Yeah.
keep that.
OSHA was saying
It
it.
has to go in there.
Yeah.
Bathroom upgrades, senior center. How, I'm the only senior here, so I should go in and look at these bathrooms.
No, is there a conflict of interest? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious on this, the foundation waterproofing for 15 grand, like, and you have foundation waterproofing at town hall too, like, I don't know, like how much do you think you don't think you could, you don't have the money in your budget to handle waterproofing that the foundation waterproofings have to go through capital?
When you start dividing it by the square footage of everything, it gets tight. You beat me to it. I'm gonna recommend that this one we remove just because I'd like to have a little bit more time on this. Because I think there's some other things we could do in the mechanics of our operation normally that I think might be contributing to an improvement here. So I'd like to pause on this and see if some other things that, are within our capabilities to do in the short term will make an improvement there. Unless anybody has any objections, but that's just my 2 cents on that.
Nope, I think it sounds good to me.
Can we revisit the bottom line for a second? What is our goal? 2-1
I'd
Yeah.
say get to 2.
to
And
2?
I think
Yeah.
the next meeting, Steve will likely join us, and he can provide the insight that only he will have. It has not been shared with me, so.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think from what I understand from conversations is that we have what we have at least what we spent last year, 2-2, but we if we need to make an argument for more, which I will, we can try. But yeah, Steve hopefully will be able to attend an upcoming meeting to talk about that.
Okay.
And we'll find FinCom too as well. I think
We're very
FinCom can
much
offer
in striking distance now.
striking, cut. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are we? Carpets. So town hall's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 requests, with elevator being, I think it's bolded as like it needs to happen or the elevator's going to be shut down.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree in keeping that.
Yeah.
And foundation repair too, that needs to be happen, doesn't it?
uh,
Where's that leak? Where's it leaking into? Is it an office space?
So I know they take some water on what would be the north side of the building. So in between Town Hall and 5 Common. That's where most of your utility penetrations are.
Mhm.
So anytime, they brought anything in, they've punched holes in that, and there's some patchwork in there. I think the backside, so like where my office is, directly underneath it, is relatively dry. And I don't know if you have some insight now to that, Frank. I think Matt's office might take a little bit of water. It's really that, the front. If you're looking at the building from Common Street, the front right corner and the adjacent wall to it is kind of where it all would come
Yeah,
in.
mainly the areas where there's no paving or concrete against the building, where the water will run off if there's grass or mulch area. It tends to get in through the cracks. It's an old foundation. And yeah, the penetrations for the utilities don't help.
Well,
And,
again, I mean, it has to get done.
15,000 would do it.
What we have identified, yeah. Yep.
Huh? But it sounds like it needs to be done. Sounds like we probably can't do without it.
where are the carpets going?
These would be on the second floor. We've done a couple of different carpet projects up there. This would be to finish the entire floor. So like with the town administrator's offices, up that way.
And what floor are we epoxying?
This would be the basement.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So
Yeah.
I would actually say, if you're gonna do the waterproofing, I'd probably sequence it, or excuse me, the foundation repair first, and the floor second. See what changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So-
there might be
I'm
some
sorry,
interventions
you
that
say-
the floor.
Yeah.
So, we definitely don't want to put down a new surface and then find out that we have to punch a hole through it. That'd be a strained investment there.
So you would remove the epoxy floor?
Yes, and I would sequence it that if consensus was that the foundation repair was to stay, I would pause on the floor until the repair of the foundation was completed first.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Mind removing epoxy. I almost think I think a $6,000 ask is just too small for us, but I think I'm trying to think they'll call it the SAM
Yes,
theorem, or the
yes.
SAM formula is like 100%. Like it's such a small, like when we've done carpets, it's like $50,000 worth of carpet. Like, I feel this, I feel like
Yeah.
it's not a lot of money. It's not making our goal that much attainable, but it helps. And
I think we'll take the same approach to that as what I just mentioned on the fire door.
Yeah.
So it's a little too early to commit because we have to make it to the finish line, obviously within the budgetary constraints that we have, but I don't see any issue there.
okay.
Exterior trim replacement, we have the same Where is this? Where is this trim?
The majority of it is on the Lafayette side, underneath the overhang when you come in. And then there's some other miscellaneous stuff that's.
Is it,
on
is
the
it
other
plaster?
side. No, no, this is all wood.
Can you replace it with wood or no?
Wherever we can get away with using PVC,
Mm.
we prefer to use that.
What's it, what, Joe, what kind of shape is it in now? Obviously, somebody's thought that it needed replacement, so is it really noticeably decrepit or just on the
Um,
way?
I feel like from 50 feet, you probably would never notice it. Fortunately or unfortunately, the people that put this list together
Yeah,
stare at it every day, and they're kind of, conditioned to look at those type of things and identify that. So,
yeah,
it'd be like, if we had Phil taking a look at the same area every day, he's going to pick out all the little pieces to it because that's just kind of the nature of the business that he's in.
yeah. Well, I think we take it out. Tell them to stand 50 feet away.
Can it wait a year?
Probably. You know what I'll do? I'll take it out for now.
Yeah,
I'm gonna highlight it though, so I know to
good.
leave
So
myself a note.
I kept this in for the same argument on the trim replacement and the greenwood is
Good,
that,
yeah,
you
good.
know,
Right.
but at the same time, like, again, it's fine either way. I'm not sold on that.
I took it out
just-
only because the greenwood said rotted and this one didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, is it rotted or not? I don't know, but
Yeah.
you don't want to wait till that point either, you know?
No.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want water to get into the wall, it
Right.
just, it's exponential once it starts going, but, right, it doesn't quite say that, so. Okay, so we have that highlighted, okay.
Yep.
Are we okay on the rest of town? So we're good with town hall then?
Yep,
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm good.
I
Clinton
would
Street,
I would
yeah, I don't-
remove
Um,
Clinton Street.
What's the gym
Honestly,
light?
this isn't a must-have. Um,
this is a storage facility,
it is. It's kind of become one by default, and it's a
right?
de facto workshop.
Okay,
Good.
But in the grand scheme of things, they're on the triage of this list. There's probably more appropriate expenditures than this right now. So knowing the objective and the goal, I would remove that for now.
okay. I'm okay with
Okay.
that.
I agree. Woodville lighting, gym lighting, is that? How critical is that? That's a new gym for, the building is new.
What do you mean by new? I think that's more than 10 years old, isn't it?
Well, we're talking about lighting fixtures here. Yeah.
Well, shouldn't that be out of operating?
It's a small
Well,
number, yeah.
It's like it's like replacing, is it replacing the whole lighting array or is it replacing a light?
No, I believe this is for the drop down lights in the gym. So it would be removing a light and replacing it with an LED light.
Can you go to Green Communities for that?
So our first project for Green Communities was a complete retrofit to LED for Town Hall. The remaining converted units to be converted at the Public Safety Building and a complete conversion of the Civic Center. So Green Communities is very lighting project friendly, especially when you go in LED with timers and controls on it. So we could absolutely do that.
Okay, why don't we do
Good.
that?
Sounds good.
Yeah, you can copy the line right above it.
PC.
Good. Okay, cemetery.
Can you just go, what was the last item in the previous section?
Just
The
suspend-
Yule's, we decided last week, just refresh my memory, what we decided last week with regard to the Yule School.
Zeroed out. The tenant has responsibilities for maintenance of the building, so we're currently zeroing out.
Okay, great, thank you.
Can we be sure they'll do it?
Well, no,
So-
but it's at a point where we may get this building back as a town or have to decide what to do with it, right, Joe?
Yeah, I think there's a broader discussion. So the tenant
Yep.
that's in it is a good tenant. And they've been here for quite a bit. But I would imagine at some point in time, especially if the Greenwood School is potentially in the queue within the next, there's a broader discussion that would probably have to happen related to this. And right now, all of these units work, and they provide what they're supposed to provide. You know, if the
Okay.
town were to take it over and retrofit it, then I would recommend, you know, doing this work to get rid of the last remaining oil. But right now it doesn't affect us, so
Okay,
Cemetery, we got 4 asks. We have 3 numbers left. We got awnings, repair, exterior repairs and the roof. And then the cremation warrant article question mark will. So anyone have any thoughts on these 3 numbers that are in here, the 9, 12 and the 50?
What kind of a roof are we replacing in the cemetery that
so this
isn't that the what you said was the old bathhouse?
yes. And I think when they moved this, I believe in the early 90s, this is the original roof to that.
Uh-huh.
And shamefully, I will admit that we've probably put the least amount of capital anything into this. It has active leaks. So yeah, we've gotten every dollar and every penny out of this. It's time.
so we're talking about the cemetery roof replacement,
Yes.
Yeah.
and that it's a roof to the office
so-
is it the office building or the is it the church-like structure that's there?
No, this
There's a
would
chapel,
this
whatever it
would
is.
be to replace everything on the garage building that we have.
Okay,
And
This
then
is at Forest Hill, at Forest Glade.
ancillary to that, so once you start with the roof, you know, some of the
so this is at Forest Glade.
correct.
Yes.
I thought Forest Glade was, which one is private?
Lakeside.
Okay, all right.
So if you drive in, if you drive into Forest Glade, it's the second building on the left.
Okay,
It's actually somewhat behind the other one.
all right. Okay,
So
well,
then-
Sounds like we
So
need
if
to
there's
do
Joe, I
been
it.
a
don't know
lot of
whether you
leaks,
meant
my question is,
when you was-
if there's been a lot of leaks and it can't just have to be roof replacement, Joe, it's gotta be other stuff within the building as well, no?
This not, no, not really, because we would
Oh.
able to keep up with anything, you know, it's a storage garage, so luckily there's not a lot of fancy interior trim. But this number includes, you know, the roof plus whatever the insulation is underneath it needs to go.
And gutters and everything?
Yeah, and then so the exterior repairs here too. Some of this is ancillary to that, so because of the condition of that, you know, there's some trim and things like that that is just punky and old. And then there's some masonry things that need to get patched up too.
well, I'm gonna say keep the roof replacement.
Yeah, it's not gonna get any better.
So
No.
that you're almost saying that you have to keep the exterior repairs if we keep the roof replacement.
I would, because it
Right.
extends a little
Right.
bit beyond the roof.
Okay. And the awnings are for the same building?
They are.
Hmm. I mean, this seems like it's coming in one package.
Essentially, so with it, when they looked at it, they identified essentially everything that's been,
Who's-
you know, overlooked.
Who uses the building that the awnings are needed? Like, are these
So-
are these fabric awnings?
No, I believe they're metal. Hold on, I'm trying to get you a
Oh, I
picture.
thought they were fabric.
Who uses it? So our staff, and then in the event that somebody is down there, and they have to make a purchase, you know, residents, will come in. If we want to phase this, I wouldn't have any objection to maybe making the awnings phase 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
Take care of the worst first, then
Yeah.
we'll see where we
Yeah.
sit.
The only caveat I was gonna ask is if they tie into the roof, like if someone just said like, is this a packet, like, but I don't know the building, so I'm asking because I'm not familiar with it, but,
I
you
don't
know,
believe to. I think they lagged
Yeah.
right into the, at least on the masonry structure, I think they lagged right into it.
the
As far as
masonry.
the other one,
I'd rather punt the 9 if we can, if you think it can happen, but
I think we will be more than grateful, to get the roof and stop some of the bad and
exterior,
work with you
Okay.
on the rest of it.
okay.
So you got 62 grand. All right.
Are
Is
everyone
that,
okay with
so
those?
one question back to the awnings. The awnings are they decorative? Or are they,
Right.
you know?
Even
Oh,
if
good
even
question.
if they were, you have a good amount of shade cover from the trees there, so it would almost be a waste to put something decorative in there. If I gave you my personal opinion, I think if anything, they're just
But if you take them
Probably.
down, you don't need them. They're not covering
you might not know.
doorways or that needed to be covered. Okay.
I think at the tennis courts, you have to
They have to be done.
leave that surface improvement in. Yeah, it's not usable otherwise, probably.
It's at the point now where if we do this, we'll be treating it appropriately. If, if we push on a little bit more, the effectiveness of a surface treatment is probably gone, and you're looking at a replacement, which, obviously there's a cost to that too, which would be different than this. So it's
Yeah.
time. Those were
Yeah.
put in roughly 10 years ago. So
Mhm. Yeah, I feel if there's cracks and that's letting in ice and water, it's just gonna get worse, and
if you walk it too, you'll notice. I was walking it with a couple of folks up there, and these little. They're not dime size, but you could see the little pot marks in different spots
Yeah.
starting, where it's spalling a little bit. So we could catch it now. We'll be putting the appropriate treatment to it at the right time.
are,
I,
are
I'm,
people okay keeping it?
yes.
Yes, leave it in.
Doyle is bolded, and so I take that.
So this one is actually just more of it's bolded because it's kind of my real only pressing request. So if you remember, we got a grant
Yep.
for the playground. We
do it.
applied for the grant, and then the price of everything kind of exploded and changed. So we're actually short on that. We're still doing
Right.
the project anyway. This will bridge the gap if it stays.
Yeah.
If not, from the town side and the school side, we probably have to get creative to figure out how to get that. The project's not going to change.
The benches, like, can't you guys do another like recycle bag, dumpster drive to get free bench? Didn't we get benches somewhere in town with people recycling plastic bags?
We did, and it went to the Greenwood, and I think it is not at the Greenwood anymore. This is something we can work on this one. So this is four of the benches around the Spalding Street playground that
They get a
Well-
ton of use. Like, we need bench, like that is a very popular playground. Like, the benches are always getting used. I just wonder if there's other sources to get the benches.
Yeah, so the other thing we could do too is we have the Vetsfield bathroom project going in now.
Mhm,
If we were to punt on this now, depending on where that lands,
mhm,
it could be incorporated into some of that at that time.
mhm.
This is at the head of the lake, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, the big playground.
Um,
Yeah, I zeroed out the softball batting cage. Outfield fence. I just I I don't have a lot of reasons why, besides the one I've already mentioned a couple meetings ago, that with the Beasley Field going down this year for the high school project, I feel this town's going to be desperate for practice space for all age level sports, soccer. I just feel I don't know where the batting cage is going to be kept, and I don't know where this outfield fence I'm still totally confused by. Did we reduce it to 50 to only account for the batting cage? Is
Yes.
that why it's lower?
What ended up happening is this was some folks from softball asked us about this. I just included 100 initially because it sounded like the ask is gonna be expansive. That's pared down a little bit. I have it highlighted here because this is something that's getting volleyed back and forth now. I think what is gonna end up is the request is gonna be for something similar to like what used to exist at Walsh Field, where it's essentially like a trellis type, cage with a net, type of deal. I'm just waiting for the confirmation, on that. And I don't
Where's the
have that
bat?
now.
Sorry to interrupt. Where's the
no, that's
batting
okay.
cage? Where's the batting cage going? That's at the high school now. That's gonna be a parking lot in a week. Where's that being moved to?
Dumpster.
It's that bad a shape. I've never seen it up
Wow,
close.
really?
They just don't think it's worth the time to try and save it. It's more trouble to save it.
Yeah, so even for softball, okay. It's
That
just, it's
we
been
can-
there forever, right? Like, yeah,
Well, it's just a matter of when the footings are probably 4 feet in the ground, you got,
Mm.
what's there, about 10 sets of poles. It's not like you'd have
oh,
to
really?
cut the
Yeah,
poles, redo the concrete and the sleeves. I mean, it's feasible to save some money,
got it.
but that would be a dentist call.
I just drive by it. I didn't realize it was such a structure underneath. Yeah,
Yeah, I
okay,
didn't either.
Well,
Yeah.
you gotta picture they're sitting in concrete like your deck footings do.
got it. Yeah, okay. I don't
That
know.
was
I
actually,
just,
for,
yep.
for the record, that one was installed by volunteer parents from Wakefield Little League.
Nice.
And so were all the Little League ones down at Fertile Field. They didn't go to the town and ask them to put in a batting cage, but that's just off the record.
Yep.
As
How do you really, what's the word on the street, Frank? How do you really feel about it? It's late. I don't know. But I don't really have good reason besides that. I don't know enough about this. I don't think we've heard enough specifics in exactly this, but I don't know how needed it is this year, at least with the amount of requests we have. But I'm fine if people want to keep it in too. I'm not sold on that, just suggesting.
I had cut it. Just 50,000 feels like a lot to swallow.
To be honest, I wouldn't expect it to land at 50. I probably think it'll come in lower than that. Based off of the update though, 50 is there just to make sure that, we didn't put like $25,000 in there and find out that we had a $40,000 potential ask. It's easier to
Yeah.
go down than have to come back and argue back up.
But I think one question I think Phil said was, where would the batting cage go at Maple Way?
They actually walked it and measured it out. So I believe it would go towards the east side of the fields. There's a little room, kind of behind what would be third base of the front field, I think is.
Yeah, over
I
towards where
believe
that,
so.
yeah,
Basketball
between
court.
probably third base and where that little asphalt basketball court is tucked in the corner, I'm gonna guess.
Yeah, I would probably split the difference.
Somewhere in there. Yeah. I don't know. So you think we could lower it and they would get a batting cage, or you think there's not enough info to say with certainty what would happen?
I think you could, although I'm not 100% certain.
I had it removed. Sam had it removed. Anyone else have it being kept, or you want to make an argument to keep it?
Where is it again? Is that by the West Side Social Club?
Maple Way's in
Yeah.
Greenwood,
Maple Way.
Oh, right. Now I know.
off of Oak. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't actually have an opinion.
I'm gonna say zero it in the interest of reaching our bottom line.
Not to complicate this, but Frank Leon's comment before, how does that affect this? The fact that it was really a private effort to put it in the first place, is that right? Do I
The one at
understand
the high
that
school,
correctly?
the one at the high school, right, Frank? You were saying?
Oh, at the high school I was
Oh, the
talking
one at the
about.
high school. Oh,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, okay.
Yeah.
That was a different time, Dan, when people actually did stuff for their
Did
kids.
stuff.
They didn't just go to the town and
Right.
say, do this for me. But
I
again,
remember
not a
it
personal
well.
comment.
So
Sorry.
that's yeah. Well,
I remember it well. Okay,
Okay, why don't
I'd
we
say
zero that out, Joe?
zero it.
I'm gonna leave it highlighted.
Yeah,
Sure.
I got a feeling we'll circle back to this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Hey, Joe, we should suggest to Dennis, we can keep that netting that's at the Walsh right now.
Okay,
There's no reason for them to throw that in a dumpster. So that saves you $1,000 easily, if not more, right there for that netting. And there's a couple other things there Dennis could probably save. But again, I would say the softball people should go down there and grab and scavenge what they can and bring it to Maple Way so that Dennis can put it together for them. But that's just my 2 cents.
good idea.
We have a lot in this next miscellaneous section and we haven't touched any of it
No.
but the fueling station, which I know from last night's meeting, you're getting a warrant article for that. Does anyone have any of these being removed? Can we start that rather than just for the sake of,
I can
what
shorten.
what is being moved to the warrant? Is the fueling
the
station?
fueling
The
station?
warrant
Okay.
article,
Okay,
the warrant article. I can shortcut this one quick way, and that is the fire alarms, all 3 of those. We haven't heard from the fire alarm department yet, so we really can't do anything. We don't have any information to make a judgment on any of those 3 items.
is he coming Thursday night?
that will be the plan, yes.
Okay.
Well, we're not meeting
We're
this
not meeting
Thursday.
Thursday. It's a week
Excuse
from-
me,
a
Tuesday.
week from tonight.
Yeah, I
really?
really,
But
yeah, it puts us in a little, because we have FinCom coming and I really wish for fire alarms that they would have come to a previous meeting knowing that this Sullivan Memorial was tonight, because it puts a crimp in our time next Tuesday when we
Really?
want to review this whole list with FinCom, maybe Steve, Marine from the town council will be, but so be it. So I would ask for fire alarm to send us a small narrative on these 3 items prior to the
Yes.
Tuesday meeting that we
Yeah,
can read, and
Good
then
idea.
we're going to work through his request rather quickly so we can get, because next Tuesday is really like a critical meeting for us. So
This one here that I have highlighted here, this power cabinet.
Yeah.
Should be captured in the rail detail project. So
Yeah.
that one,
okay.
I'm sorry, which project?
the utility
The-
pole power cabinet
Rail
relocation.
detail.
Bless you.
yeah,
So,
Thank you.
they have to cut the intersection up and, pave the, Mass DOT will have to pave the pathway anyway, so that is captured within that. That should be an easy one, so.
okay, could we just, we skipped over the public safety
Yeah,
building,
Dan,
2
go. Yep.
projects. The floor machine sounds like it should go away anyway. I mean,
Yeah,
they've
I
got
agree.
something already. Okay, the sidewalks and ADA ramps. He described them as in pretty bad shape, but I don't recall from what I saw, if I was looking at the right place, they don't
On the
look like they're in bad shape.
On the side streets, you have trees and you have cutouts for the trees within the
Yes.
sidewalks, making them very skinny, and so you can't get wheelchairs
Oh,
through.
Oh,
They're
is that what
also
you mean?
they're also starting to heave. So where the police door is, where the police garage door is, like that side of the building
Oh,
in
okay.
particular, but the other side. So trees would have, I assume this is Joe, right? Trees would come down and you'd basically, and you don't have money in the town already for sidewalk work that could be used towards this.
We
this-
do,
yeah.
this would be another one, so I think, I don't have our operating budget in front of us, but, our standing line item for sidewalks is somewhere around 55,000. So this would be a little north of that. I think, in a year where it wasn't so tight, this project's an easy one to include. This could end up kind of like the discussion that we had with the library driveway. We would take down the trees that need to be taken down anyway because they're affecting it. And then I would just patch it for the time being. So I'd pull, 2 panels that need to be pulled and put them back. It wouldn't do a complete holistic repair, but it would look a lot different, than what it is now. I think we can manage that, understanding the constraints of this.
Yeah, like,
So
I don't know.
would,
Dan, so go.
would you put a probability on being able to take some of that down for you know, out of your other budgets, out of your sidewalk budget?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So what we do is, you know, the instance or two where the tree's heaving the panel,
Yeah,
we'd unfortunately have to remove the tree and get it out of the way. And then really just saw cut it at the expansion joints, and, you know, we're replacing 4x4
Okay.
panel or two at a time, and just kind of work our way around the building
yeah.
clockwise and take care of everything we can.
So if we cut this to say 35,000 or something like that, would that leave you enough to do this and integrate it into the other work?
I think right now you could cut it to, I would say cut it to 0.
Okay,
Let us do our thing.
the man has spoken.
Do it before he changes his mind. Yeah.
Like I said, you know, going into this, you don't know
Exactly.
exactly where we're gonna line up here, so.
Okay.
And driveway, what it be,
Yeah,
are you thinking, like, is that, do we punch? She
he
said it,
gave us,
yeah,
Frank Leone had a opinion about what could be done there to abate this cost. Is that Frank the fit?
I think, yeah, if Joe wants to run it by his guys, and I
Oh,
think it
okay.
can be done. I think it can be repaired for less than half that cost. If
Well,
Joe couldn't, you know, absorb it in his budget without anything, but I'm not gonna say that.
yeah.
But,
I think
what lot, excuse me, what line item
Right.
are we talking about?
Okay.
driveway
the
replacement at library, 88.
Driveway,
Okay.
Yeah, I think Frank Leone would have the community show up with asphalt buckets and probably just
Ah,
make it a
Jesus.
community event.
no, I'm not saying that.
I'm
All
only
right.
kidding.
All right, knock it off.
I'm only kidding.
Okay, stair
yeah,
reset.
I'd love to zero it out or find a way for the town to take care of that, to buy them time for us to, you know, it's going to need replacement if it doesn't get fixed.
Yeah.
So if the town could take that on. But the fact that you don't own the building makes it so weird that I don't even know how the town takes it on, Joe, but I'll let you, the higher powers, figure that one out.
So it's all owned by the town of Wakefield, right? Everything, everybody that works here wears the name Wakefield on them, and everything we drive says it on it. So
Yeah. Okay.
What it really comes down to is, you know, the town council and Mr. Mayo give me my marching orders, at least set the lane
Yep.
that I operate in. There's a different board of directors that kind of oversee that, similar to like the gas and light department, but
Got it. Yeah.
for us to
Okay.
go in here and help with this is not out of the ordinary.
Okay.
We'll be a pleasure if we have to.
I would
Got it.
say this, the stair reset, I should shut up. I'm running for trustee here, so I may be owning this building. So you guys talk about the stairs.
No, until you're on it, I think you're okay to discuss it.
Okay,
Not that, and I wish you all the luck. And
Thank you,
but
thank you.
you're welcome to discuss it in my belief.
that's
Yeah.
not a campaign pitch, okay?
Yeah, I know.
I think it's, I think this is a necessary and long-term thing. And I mean,
Yeah,
seems to me it's a safety issue.
I agree, it should remain.
I agree.
So the other, oh, sorry, Al.
I was just saying that I had kept both of the library things just because looking out at their future projection of costs, if they come in and they're like requesting 100,000 every year, like that looks like the average across the 10 years after this one. So it's
Yeah.
sort of on the pace for the request that they're doing with their department, but I realize we're going project by project, so it's a different frame of mind. But that was the only reason why I kept the driveway replacement and the stairs, but happy to keep the stair project.
Well, to the extent that the driveway replacement could be done by a town patch and manhole reset, it would take care of their need for that 25,000.
Yeah, I mean, if there's another way to do it without
There's another way to
incurring
do
that
it.
cost, then that works
yeah.
as well.
Okay, miscellaneous townwide ADA improvements.
Are we okay waiting on fire alarm until we hear or see some information on those?
Yeah,
I think we should. I
Yeah,
think we
okay,
should.
yeah.
I think we should dispatch that quickly at the next Tuesday's meeting and definitely ask him to send us some correspondence.
Who's the individual, Joe, from fire alarm?
Captain Hudson, I'll get in touch with him.
Okay, thank you.
If I could just go back to one step. So another thing, between now and the next time we meet, that is potentially a consideration point. This stair project, very similar to, how the request at the state level for the roof for the Civic Center. There's a very strong potential, that this is, state earmark.
Oh, excellent.
So, not to speak out of turn, but I know the pictures, have been submitted. And I think, this is a great photo opportunity, in the political realm.
Yeah.
It's done and it looks nice, and you're in front of the plaza and it's all, everything's growing. It looks great. I wish people thought the same thing about pipe underground, but,
Well, you don't see
Yeah.
it, right? Well, so in the
Well,
past,
but,
oh, sorry,
excuse me.
Frank, you go.
There are some, the governor's cutting the budget because of the revenues, so we can't always go to that well because I think their revenue picture is changing a bit. And, earmarks are usually the first to go when things get tight. So I don't want to put a lot of eggs in that basket right now.
I wouldn't, but I would expect this is one of those things, that the next time we reconvene, when Steve weighs in, he might have more information on this. So it might be something that comes up again. I guess I'll leave it.
Well, the
I don't
question
know if it
is,
will or won't.
I think this work at the library on the stairs needs to be done rather quickly, and I don't know what the turnaround time is when you submit an earmark and how long it takes you to get the money so that you can begin the work. So I just think that, yes, let's wait to hear from Steve.
Mhm.
But I'm just trying to make my decision based on the context of what the state revenue picture is, and maybe
Yeah. Could we just highlight it and leave it in?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, just on the next two, so if you remember last time, there's been a little bit of shift in what has become the priority here. So, Main and North Ave and Prospect Street, will actually probably not be advocated for too staunchly. And if I'll speak for my engineers to say that, transportation, grant funding and things like that, these projects are teed right up for that, especially if you do like signal integrations. So I'd actually say for now, until we see the updated list, I would almost say zero these two out, knowing that there's going to be something potentially new that we'll see for a request instead of these.
Would that
Okay.
result in us not needing to meet with Captain Hudson?
No, because he does still have something. I don't know the correct terminology because it's not our wheelhouse, but there is an asset that's out there that he needs to replace sooner than later. That will become more of a priority than doing these. Not to say that these detection systems aren't a priority, but he's triaging
On our
everything.
list, Joe? Sorry to interrupt, but we have that asset on this list tonight?
No, we haven't seen it yet. That's
So we don't know the price yet?
no. The only from talking to him, it sounds like it's going to be less than the request here. But I don't have
Okay.
all the specifics.
well, we can't we're gonna have
Yeah,
to hear
right.
from him.
Yeah,
So
so-
I would leave them in for now.
Yeah, just highlight them or something, right? And we'll come back to them. Or if you think we can zero, if you're
If you think,
100%,
yeah.
we're zeroing them out, then we can zero them out. There's no need to highlight, that's the other caveat to that. If you're 100% that these can be zeroed, then just do it. But if you think this is going to be replaced by another ask, and you'll ask him for something that can be distributed before our next meeting, please.
Yes, I'll
Okay.
follow back up with him and ask if there's any way
Thank
we can
you.
get it before the weekend, so you have some time
So-
to digest
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, I'll send it and
So you
put it
want
along.
to, the Walton School doesn't need a $75,000 grass
I
and
thought we already
fencing.
said no to that.
Yeah. We can zero that out. What do you think?
It's, so I have it
just
zeroed
doesn't
out,
make
but
any
I'm
sense,
noticing, I'm
right?
noticing it's a tier 1, but, I just,
I thought there was a problem with irrigation and.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, Frank Leone last week pointed out, yes, he's waving at you right now. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Frank.
I've done some research on this. I visited the site. I've talked to people involved. And this is my opinion. I think it's just a nice want. I don't know where they're getting the tier 1 from.
yeah,
I can take some pictures this week and get them to you guys for Tuesday's meeting so you can look at it where
Yeah.
the fencing, where they want the fencing to go. And after talking to Dennis about how that grass is going to grow in that area, it just
It's not gonna grow.
it's going to be, without mincing his words, it's just going to be it might just be a futile experiment because it's been done before.
right.
Yeah.
Well, Tim said that the other night, that this
Yeah.
has been a problem area for trying to grow grass
Yeah.
for years with drainage and foot traffic, and
Yeah.
it's just, some places just aren't good for lawns, right? Like, and this might be it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
picture would be helpful. Should we zero it out and highlight it, or,
I say that, yes.
yeah. And then if you want to send photos, it'd be interesting to see
I'll
what
do
it
that
looks
this
like.
week. I'll take some of that and
Yeah.
I'll go by the library driveway too. And
Yeah.
make sure that that it looks the same in person. And I can take some photos of this during the day.
Yeah.
Joe, don't tell my boss.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, look
Huh?
at 2.290.
Yeah,
So what's, that's the number, right? 2.2, or is it 2.1?
No, we still got 3 items left. But we're close. We're
I would
close. I think
still
they'd still want us to lower this,
shoot
is what Joe's
for
gonna tell
2.
us. Yeah, but last year we approved 2.2. So I'm not one for wanting to reduce our capital spending when we're having to reduce these lists so much. But we can have that talk when we have the larger group at hand.
So I'll just kind of summarize this section. So time and attendance software here, as I mentioned, this is going to go town-wide. So this will be something that, or this is something that Steve and the other department heads would prefer to stay in here. So
Hmm.
this one, for lack of a better term, is kind of off limits. Um,
Let's cut it. What?
You know, and so then there's a decision to be had, you know, between these two. We showed the camera system as a potential lease and what that might look like.
The work order system is critical, I feel, to the operation of the town. Like, I
Yeah,
just
I
hearing
think we-
how that's handled now, like I feel like that. I feel like the DPW ask is a no-brainer, but it's a huge number. You know, that's the thing. It's a huge number.
why was it reduced though, Joe, from 350 to 200?
Because we split it, we proportionalized
see.
it so the enterprises pick some of it up.
Oh,
Yeah.
good thinking.
Yeah,
Before we talk next time, just to touch base with the enterprises, I'm not 100% sold. I know I have a dump truck we have to replace. We have to replace a backhoe. I'm not 100% sold on exactly the mechanism, whether or not we buy it outright or finance it yet. This will be final next time. So I probably don't need to discuss that tonight. Just while we're on it, I guess if I take 2 seconds, I'll explain the work order thing a little bit. Actually, really quick, I was actually able to find, so can everybody see the picture I put up?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the cemetery,
Oh.
that's the cemetery garage moving down Main
Oh my
Street by
God.
Beebe's Cove. That was 1994.
Is he
So,
idling?
He could be.
I remember swimming out of that building.
Yeah, so that's probably the last time we did any work to any of the roof there. So
Nice picture. Good find.
Wow,
Good picture.
wow.
I knew I had it somewhere.
Yeah. So we're like at 2.3 right now. I guess the question on those last 3 asks were, so we have the town-wide payroll, which is a big push to keep. We have the work order system. And then what's I'm blanking on the third item already because it's been off the screen. It's late.
The camera system for the school. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of the things that
Okay.
makes our work order request, so we have a work order system now. It was purchased by another company, and one of the fears that we have is ours is a little bit custom, because we got in when the company was kind of doing R&D, so we were able to drive it to suit our needs a little bit. We don't know what the future holds for us. So what I have up on the screen though is, and you've probably heard me in the last couple of years mention that we're trying to build out our GIS. So this is an example. This is Main and North Ave. These are all the assets that we have GPSed and mapped that sit in these layers. So we have street painting, you name it. If we maintain it, these are crosswalks in the purple. If we maintain it, we have a digital record of it now. What we don't have is, I'll use this as an example. So I'm hovering over a catch basin near Jiffy Lube.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is we have some data on it, but what we don't have is a work history to it.
Mhm.
So what we would like to do is integrate our work order into the assets that we have mapped here, so that when we visit them, we have a chronological longitudinal history to it. Or in the event that we were to remove or replace an asset, it's live. And what it will do is it will queue a record drawing edit to our GIS manager, and she would review it for QA, QC. And then once she's satisfied with the data that's in that, she would add it. So we wouldn't lose any data. What happens now is if we took out this catch basin here, it would create a secondary workflow, which would be something that either gets sent through email or, it used to be on paper. And then that would create another list. So you have two kind of things working in parallel. So from an optimization standpoint, it'd be nice to tie it all in together so all the data is tracked in one place. As you can imagine, to be able to do that and implement that and get the workflows, completely correct is some of the reason why the cost is what it is. But that's just a little bit of the insight to why that is what it is and some of the things that we're trying to accomplish with it. So I'll step off my.
Pretty good.
Okay, and then the camera system was a tier 1 ask from the school system, and you're representing a possible a 5-year lease for that.
Correct.
Right.
So
Yep.
that's what was asked last time.
Yeah.
I was made aware after the meeting. So annually in the fall, there's generally an IT grant through, I think it's actually Compact Computers,
Mm-hmm.
but it's called the Community Compact Grant, which would pay for utilities. It'd be SCADA systems, camera systems, you name it, it's all tech driven. That is something that's the potential there for, and I do believe that the grants are capped at $200,000. So there is a consideration in this IT section, at least for line 100 and 101, to potentially try to leverage that. Again, it's a grant. We don't know. Based on the timing and the requests townwide, I probably wouldn't include the time and attendance software in anything like that. But just putting that out there so everybody's aware.
Okay, is there anything else for this evening?
It's late.
We're almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Fact,
if yeah.
Leave that pad in there, in fact. Because he's gonna knock some stuff out. Okay,
Yeah, I think before we cut, I think we did really good work tonight, folks, and that was a lot of cutting and discussion. I think we should probably keep it here for the night. So we're not meeting Thursday, we're meeting next Tuesday. With FinCom, again, Maureen from Town Council, hopefully Steve will be able to make it. And let's get a firm budget number at that point, right? And
Right.
see if we may not, and my mission, as anyone that's been on this committee with me, is to always ask for more money than we had the previous year. So I think we should continue to do the same. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. At least to
Yeah.
account for inflation.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I think unless there's anything else, I want to thank Joe for your, once again, good job
Yeah,
going through
Joe,
all that.
good
And
job.
if you could send, of course, I
Yeah.
know you're gonna do it, you're gonna send us
Yeah,
this
send that.
version.
Um,
I just, what, did we
Yeah.
schedule something for Thursday, or didn't we never?
Way back, we originally had a meeting on the 14th. I had to cancel it because I have another meeting that night, so I'm
Okay,
not
oh,
able
fair
to
enough.
attend. So
Okay, no
our next
problem.
meeting will be Tuesday, the 19th. We do have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, the 21st. But in all reality, the goal would be to vote on a final list next Tuesday, the 19th, if we can. If for
Okay,
some reason we're just not comfortable or not there yet, we have a meeting in the books for Thursday, the 21st.
yes, then,
But there's not a lot of time between that meeting and then this has to be all presented to the town council the following Monday and then the
Okay.
finance committee the following Wednesday. So that's why I think the hope is the 19th. That's why if fire alarms is going to come in, he's got to be quick and get us info because we got to just that way we can spend the time discussing our budget, right? Which is the critical discussion that we need to have with the town
Right,
peoples. So we can decide if we need to make more cuts or finalize some of these last highlights. And maybe that's what we focus on is just the highlights no need to really deep dive into anything else at this point. So
okay, great.
that's
Very
the
good.
thought. Move to someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
I move
Or
that
is there
we,
anything else from the committee before we adjourn? No?
what housekeeping thing is this meeting transcribed? Is there a public record?
It
Yeah,
says
that's
it's
it's
recorded.
recorded.
It's being recorded. So these
But
all
is there
show
a-
up on YouTube.
You
You're on
agreed to
TV.
that in the beginning, I think.
Yeah,
Is there, yeah, but is there a transcript? That's my question.
I don't think it's closed
It says
caption.
it does an auto transcript as part of the
Auto
report.
transcript.
That's
Yeah.
one of the first
And
pop-ups.
Sherry has that, right?
Yeah, I think you can request it from Sherry if needed.
Okay, great. So I move to adjourn.
I
Second,
second.
All those in favor, press
Aye.
leave meeting.
Aye.
Yes, okay.